allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Remind those in attendance this evening that if you'd like to speak, we've got a sign-up sheet in the back of the room, and we'd love to hear from you. Just ask that you please sign up to do so. Number 2, new on the agenda this evening, is the adoption of the meeting agenda as presented. I understand that we have one modification on the consent agenda. Would you like to address that now, Mr. Hamp?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, if we could please pull item 3D, and we'll take that up again at the second meeting in June.
Okay. So we have the agenda and as amended by staff. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. All right. Number 3 on the agenda is is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Great. Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Number 4, matters from council members. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share this evening?
Just a reminder, we've got the Soapbox Derby coming up this coming
Saturday. Yeah.
So
We got the racer all ready to go. She's ready to go. So
I'm gonna give her a few tips after the meeting tonight.
Please do.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Keep your eyes open.
Enjoy. So, well, great. Number 5 is to hold a public hearing to receive comments. To consider introducing an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2019 budget ordinance for the city of Waynesboro by adding budget amendment number 1. Mr. Shaw.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it is a requirement that any time the budget is amended by more than 1% that we must hold a public hearing. The amendment basically is the reallocation of monies within the city's coffers. So these are, to a great extent, either things that are meant to satisfy the auditors in our accounting system, or the reallocation of fund balance to satisfy the city's debt obligations and capital improvement plan. So the budget amendment itself is $24,687,894. Now the biggest portion of that, $20,141,964, is the reassignment of the bond proceeds for the high school renovation project. And so we received money from the VPSA for that project. It's currently parked in the general fund. We will create a bond fund to be able to track the bond revenue that we've received against expenditures and then interest earned on the bond proceeds while we hold those proceeds. So it's basically a way of segregating those funds separate from your general fund so you don't inflate your general fund, and it also makes tracking bond activity in the project much more explicit. Some of the other key items, $3.9 million is being transferred from various committed reserves of the city in the general fund to create capacity in the CIP plan to establish both major and minor maintenance reserves for the city's capital improvement needs, unforeseen at this point capital improvement needs. And then other large items would be, are primarily to provide debt service. As you may recall, in previous years when the council raised the tax rate to be able to provide funding for the high school renovation project, those early proceeds were set aside in a segregated debt service fund. And so $200,000 is being transferred from that debt service fund to provide funding in fiscal year 20 for the debt service on the bond. And then about $105,000 will be used to pay an interest payment that will be due in July of this year, but the interest has accrued in the current fiscal year, FY19, and so those funds will be applied against that debt service. So that's the bulk. There are some smaller things. There's a transfer from unspent appropriation in the assessor's office to cover some expenditures in the finance office. And then you'll see then a summary as well of changes in your fund balance. Once the dust settles a little bit, I think it is Mr. McCormick's intention to come back to council with financial reports that will show you changes in fund balance, especially any of the capital project fund balances as we move forward.
Okay, great, thank you.
Be glad to answer any questions you have. As I say, it is a requirement that we hold a public hearing on the matter.
I think any questions of Mr. Shaw?
This is the same figures we had at our last work session?
Yes, sir, they are.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, with that, I will open up the public hearing.
No one has signed up to speak, sir.
With that, we will close the public hearing. Any additional questions? Okay, is there a motion to introduce the ordinance?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All right, with this ordinance having been introduced and seconded, will be considered at our June 24th regular business meeting. Thank you very much. Number 6 on the agenda is to consider introducing an ordinance appropriating a security grant in the amount of $49,213 to the school funds to update the intercom system at Berkeley Glen Elementary, Winona, and William Perry Elementary Schools. Mr. Hamp.
These funds are fully reimbursable, and as the title suggested, is a grant, security grant through the Commonwealth.
Okay, that's great. Any questions concerning the ordinance? Is there a motion to introduce?
I'll introduce.
Great, thank you. Is there any second? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. All right, number 7 is communication correspondence calendar. Mr. Hamp.
Yes, sir. Members of council, I have one item this evening. One is to simply inform the council that later this month, PayPoint HR, the selected vendor to conduct our compensation and classification study, will be on site, and staff will work with the vendor to kick off the project. I inform you of this to primarily draw your attention to 2 key dates in the future. Our goal as staff is to have the work substantially completed to present, if not final, at least preliminary results and recommendations to the council in time for our budget retreat, which is presently scheduled for November 1st and 2nd. Staff's intention is to recommend that council conduct a work session on October 23rd at 6 p.m. to receive a presentation of the study results and recommendations. So key dates somewhat down the line, but we'll be here sooner than sometimes we anticipate. October 23rd work session and November 1st and 2nd for our budget retreat.
Okay. I just asked Julie if you wouldn't mind. I think you've already might have already sent out the budget retreat, but maybe send out the work session invitation to everybody too. Great, awesome. Thank you.
That's all I have this evening, sir.
Okay. All right. Next is citizen comment period. Do we have anyone to sign up for that?
You do not, sir.
Okay. All right. So with that, we are faced with item number 9.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.